poll, 25% of Muslim Americans say jihadi violence is justified. Jeez.
Is that directed to me, or did you say poll? I cannot understand that.
P-O-L-L. Poll.
Oh, okay. God damn.
Poll. It's my New Jerseyan accent.
What's the real deal?
Yeah.
Real deal.
The real deal.
Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, Islamists Among Us. Now, many Muslims describe Islam as a religion of peace, but a 2015 poll by the Center for Security Policy suggests otherwise. Now, when asked if violence against Americans here in the U.S. can be justified as part of, quote, global jihad, 25% of Muslim Americans polled said yes. Joining us now from the Muhammad Islamic Center in Greater Hartford, Imam Kashif Abdul Karim, and also from the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Let's go to more polls. 29%, we'll put it up on the screen, of Muslim polls say violence against those who insult the Islamic faith is sometimes acceptable. That same poll says 51% of Muslims polled say Muslims in America should have the right and the choice of being governed by Sharia. Dr. Jasser, I'll put on the side of the screen certain quotes. I want you to respond to the polls and, you know, the Quran calling to cut off hands and feet of those who fight Allah, or Christians and Jews are deluded and not to take them as friends, and all these other quotes that we're putting up there. Explain how people interpret that literally.
Well, this is basically, Sean, the movement of political Islam, Wahhabism, these movements that have been fueled by petrodollars that dominate the leadership of our Muslim community are exclusivist interpretations, literal interpretations that take passages that the Islam that I learned is more through an American lens of equality, of modern ideas, but the Islam that's being pumped out of Saudi Arabia, being pumped out of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, or the Deobandis of Pakistan, is an Islam that demonizes minorities, that abuses women, that justifies things that is not only 7th century, but is just what I believe to be un-Islamic. But we Muslims have to own up to the fact that the interpretations of some of those passages is not being done in an American lens. And our Muslim Reform Movement put forth a declaration that said we reject apostasy laws, we reject blasphemy laws, we reject violent jihad. And there are ways, Sean, to interpret that passages in ways that are commensurate with the 21st century, but the majority of our leadership in America is silent and missing in action on these reforms necessary.
Imam, I want you to respond to the polls and these quotes that we're putting up on Islam, you know, and the literal interpretation that some have of this.
Well, first of all, we don't really agree with that particular poll. That particular poll was denied as being shoddy, according to the Washington Post on December 7th. What about these quotes about cut off the hands and feet of those who fight Allah? What about Jews and Christians are deluded and take neither Christians nor Jews for your friends? Well, that particular verse, which deals with stealing, actually deals with if a person steals, you cut off their hand. But if the person has been stealing because he's hungry or he's dealing with a difficulty, the crime is not on the person, but it's on the community.
Here we go.
We're taking these Sharia laws that have been presented to us,
but the Quran is being used to justify murder. It's being used to justify mothers and fathers strapping suicide vests on their own children and promising them 72 virgins in heaven. So obviously they're taking it from somewhere, and they cite the Quran.
I think the Imam's answer is right. Go ahead.
Imam? Those things that you're talking about are really not from the Quran. They're from different hadith, which has been taken out of context.
Well, the Quran is a hadith, but that's where they're getting their radicalism from. They're taking it literally.
Now, when you take, just like there was Christians in America lynching black people for years, right-minded people understood that was not Christianity.
Okay, but radical Islam is now the world's problem. That's what we're dealing with. All right, last word, Zuhdi, real quick.
Imam, you're being either delusional or ignorant, or you're being deceptive of the interpretations that are coming out of Saudi Arabia that are in the Quran that we have to reinterpret. So the apologetics that you're providing actually prove Sean's point and prove the poll, which is most Muslims reject or simply accept that somehow as part of God's law, when in fact we have to reform the literal interpretation and say that the majority of the leadership of our faith are archaic and medieval in their interpretations, and we need to reject it openly. And the fact that you're denying that actually proves the poll, because you're not allowing a conversation to admit that we have a problem.
All right, Imam, real quick, respond to that.
No, we don't have a problem. I'm not ignorant or delusional. I did say, first of all, that the poll was not accurate. The poll only included 600 people.
Wait, Imam, are you saying we don't have a problem with radical Islam? Are you saying we don't have a problem with that?
We have a problem with people who are claiming Islam as a tool to do bad things in the world. Yes,
where are they getting their inspiration from?
The Saudis beheading the Muslim Brotherhood, attacking people because of their speech. That's not happening.
We got to go. I'm just out of time. I appreciate it. Dr. Jasser, I think you can take back the religion.
Before the religion instead of putting the religion first.
Man, I really want to hear
the religion first.
I really want to hear the imam more, but go ahead, Paul. I think you want to go first.
Oh, yeah, and so caveat, obviously, is that I agree with Sean Hannity to a point on this, and I agree with some of the other people on that point to a point of it. Yeah. But obviously, Sean Hannity and Fox are doing it from the point of they're pushing Christianity. I think Islam is the old enemy, and it's blasphemy and blah 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 blah. Yeah. We go along with it because we've at least skimmed off the Quran a little bit, maybe the Hadith, go and realize that they're using it to justify shit, just like. The Christians used to use it to justify shit. The problem is that people want to look at it as we've evolved in this country. So naturally, they don't look at it as really we should stick to this portion of whatever text we want that we really like and actually go with it and use it as justification. We think because we've evolved, they've obviously evolved too, and that's just not quite the case in a lot of fucking countries. And then the knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, they're a minority here, so we have to protect them. Yeah, fine, protect the minority here, but still realize there's still part of the minority here of people who are Muslim who are still extremists. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a couple of attacks last year.
No, good point, Paul. And one thing I want to bring up is this Center for Security Policy stat. It's pretty accurate when you come down to it. The reason why I say that is because you can reason with it. You can understand that there are 1.1 billion Muslims that really adhere or support some form of Sharia law. So really, it's a pretty accurate assessment when it comes to that poll. Also, the one guy did make a pretty good point, I thought, is that most of our leadership, is what he quoted here, in America, is silent and are missing in action when it comes to the reforms or the reformation of Islam. This is a very key point, I think, and this is something we all need to talk about. We know we need to be civil about it. We're not telling you guys to go out and start fucking hating on Muslims, of course. Intellectual and peaceful. That's what we need to start doing, and that's at least that's what we have been doing here on the Skeptic Fan Show. Anthony?
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, if we're talking about Islam and stuff like that, I mean, I am somewhat skeptical. Very, very skeptical as to whether this religion can even be reformed right now. I think we're at least 5 generations away. We're talking 300 years before this thing's going to get sorted out. As far as a reformation, as far as Christianity is concerned, like an equivalence, but it doesn't stop us, fucking addressing these problems. It doesn't stop us doing that whatsoever. We can talk about these problems, we can highlight these issues, we can talk about these things, and hopefully make other people aware of it. That's what I hope this show is going to be about. Yeah. We're going to talk about the major problems. We're going to do some frivolous stuff, but we're going to, when it comes to the serious shit like Islam, this is what the problem is.
Yeah. And people need to realize we're not talking about the 2nd or 3rd generation Muslims out there. The ones that go out, party, have a few drinks. We see, we're
talking Majid Nawaz.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you talk,
even though he's wrong, still.
Immigrant, and 3rd generation immigrant type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking
about those Muslims, with that 25%, that still tells you right there that there's more than enough people that still adhere to some form of Sharia law.
Yeah, or support it, yeah.
Sharia,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or support it, yeah. And the one other issue I want to bring up is what the imam said, where, he stated when white Christians are lynched by, white Christians lynch black people, that wasn't part of the Holy Bible. Well, yeah, of course it is. And here's a quote from Hitchens, because I love bringing Hitchens up. The Bible may, indeed does, contain a warrant for trafficking in humans, for ethnic cleansing, for slavery, for bride price, and for indiscriminate massacre. But we are not bound by any of it because it was put together by crude, uncultured human mammals. So yes, Christians did do this at some time in the past. We've gotten over that. They knew they were wrong.
Yeah, but nobody I know or you know is doing that stuff right now.
Correct. The problem is not Christian terrorism. deadly Christian terrorist attacks.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Cenk was saying.
Is it a problem, say, in America once in a while? Yeah, it is. But people in the United States, in America, need to look abroad and look at what's happening in the Middle East, looking at these theocratic governments.
Yeah, it's as much of a problem in America as it is when some kid goes into a school and shoots it up. I mean, it's that much of a problem. It's an isolated issue. This is not something that's going to be like a epidemic. It's not going to be like that, is it? It's just some random kid that's had bad parenting and, you know, or doesn't get laid or whatever.
Or lack of mental health care.
Oh, yeah, of course, all those things, right? But it's not an epidemic like Islam is.
Correct, yeah.
The ideology of Islam is fucked, and we all know this, and we need to keep talking about that.
But
until it bores everybody, until it's sorted out, I'll keep talking about it because I've lived with it for the last 25 years.
Anthony, why are you being a bigot and racist right now? You know,
because Muslims are fucked, dude. Muslims have really, really, really bad ideas. That's why.
You know, it's a good book I just read. Finally, was Sam Harris and Majid Nawaz. Islam and the Future of Tolerance. Yeah, I got the audiobook, so I've been listening to it for the last few nights. It's only about 3.5 hours long, the audiobook, but it's really good, man. They really agree for the most part on a lot of issues, and it's basically back and forth with them.
Is it Sam and Majid talking to each other, and it's the actual book?
Yeah, it's like a dialogue. They go back and forth and stuff like that.
Put the link out to that chat, man.
Oh, it's really, really good. You can get on.
Because I don't get time to read, but I do get time to listen.
Yeah,
so please put that link out there.
Yeah, on Audible, I'll include in the link in this description of the video. It's Audible you can get. It's $14.95. It's a good buy, no doubt. And you actually get to hear Sam Harris and Majid Nawaz narrate it. So it's fucking awesome. And they go back and forth, and it's really awesome. And it seems like they're together as they're, you know, recording this.
Love it.
Dialogue, which is really
you know, just
awesome.
to reiterate on what Paul said earlier, you know, as much as I can't stand Fox News, I have to agree with this video.
Yeah, but you know what's go ahead. Sorry.
You know, I mean, obviously, you know, the people at Fox they have their reasons why they're touching on Islam, which is, you know, different from us. But I mean, when you're right, you're right.
Yeah, and what it boils down to is, I wish they were the same way when it comes to Christianity. Again, there's no equivalence there when you're trying to equate the two, but when it comes to Christianity and when it comes to same-sex marriage and abortion, stuff like that, they're the ideas we need to attack also when it comes to Christianity, which is you can't compare that to Islam, what's happening in the world. Of course not. No. But then they're the ones that, you know, support those types of actions, which is just bullshit in my viewpoint. But that's where they're wrong on those issues. And it seems like they're right when it comes to these types of issues. Again, I don't like Fox News, but hey, seems like they're out there talking about the issue that really matters in the world. So, which is, I think, a positive that we should.
And another thing, at the end of that video, the guy on the left, he says that, you know, these people are pushing their own agendas and they're not, you know, going off the religion. No, man, that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting the religion first, not their agenda first.
Correct. So anything else on this, guys? And we'll move on to our next topic that pertains to Islam, or Muslims, I should say. This is our Muslim segment.
I'll probably just follow it up by just saying fuck Islam.
Fuck Islam. Oh, great. Here
My
we go.
name is Anthony K, and fuck Islam.